Your body has an innate ability to self-regulate, self-heal, self-organize, and restore the inner rhythm or inner harmony of your body. I'm Yasmin Lambat. I am the founder of SomaSensing, which is a way of tuning into your body's self-healing, self-organizing, self-regulating ability. Our body is sending us information in the form of sensation to help us self-regulate. Those sensations that arise from within our body are called interoception. Hunger, thirst, and that urge to pee are some examples. Butterflies in our tummy is another. Pain and the urge to unwind. So fascial unwinding is an interoceptive urge that arises from within. It's similar to, the urge is similar to that urge to unwind when we wake up from restful sleep, or if you've been sitting for a long time and you feel that inner urge. It's your body's way of moving you from the inside out to revitalize any areas of stuckness, strain. It resets your nervous system while revitalizing and recharging your body's fascia. Fascia is the stuff that our bodies are made from, and it is also the tissue that unites every biological system in your body, including your nervous system. And what if we had the ability to connect to this self-regulating, self-sensing, self-healing nature of the body? And this is where fascial unwinding comes in. So what is it? Fascial unwinding describes a process of emergence, movements that arise from within the body, spontaneous movements that nourish and nurture our body's fascia. Now, there's a way of guiding this practice, and it can happen through movement therapy or manual therapy. And the manual therapy approach, John Barnes' myofascial unwinding, comes from that manual therapy approach. My approach arose from or emerged from somatic movement. Somatic movement informed by fascia. I noticed that when the body comes to a resting state, it sends you an urge to move. For those of you who are familiar with trauma release exercises or TRE, that's one example of an inner self-regulatory process, right? So fascial unwinding sits in that inner emergence of the body, an interoceptive urge. So that's the number one. Fascial unwinding is an interoceptive urge. It's the body's innate way of coming to a homeostatic state. Now, there's a way of guiding somebody into that process. And in SomaSensing, I may guide somatic movement, and the whole purpose of my practice is to make sure that I'm co-regulating, I'm holding space. Because if someone has unresolved trauma and this process of unwinding arises, it may re-trigger a trauma response. So in SomaSensing, we guide practitioners to learn how to co-regulate, how to bring somebody into a state of recovery. So fascial unwinding is the body's way of bringing you to a state of recovery. So we start with a state of rest. So it begins with a resting state. So I'm going to show you in my body how that arises. So I could be just resting on the ground here. And there's a way of just coming to quiet to arrive on the ground. And you might find, the body sends you an urge, right? So there's the urge to pandiculate. It doesn't always start here. It can happen in a different way. So this is where my process is arising. And just notice how the body starts to spiral. And I'm simply following the urge. There will be pulsing movements, coaxing movements. And all of this is an urge that's arising from within. And I'm simply following that inner urge from within the body. Okay, I'm just kind of showing you a taster, right? Another way that it could arise is when you bring your body to a resting state. So if I'm in seated and I'm just hanging out, it's like, hey, I'm hanging out here. I'm in a place of rest, like you're hanging out at the beach. So here I am, I'm just hanging out, finding that inner ease within the body. And then this process of unwinding emerges. So I'm not moving my body is moving itself. And I'm just allowing it to go through the process. And it can be different, it's not always like this. This is where my body is going to today. And I may sense areas of strain. I'm simply following where my body's taking me. It's following that inner urge. Every now and again, I may pause. And it's really important in this practice to be guided and not to guide your body. Your body knows where it goes. Your body will, your connective tissue or your soft matter called fascia continues this process of motion spontaneously. And what it's based on is the information. As your fascia phase changes, and I will explain what phase change is in another video, it sends you this spiral motion, and I'm just following. Okay, so that's just another process. So I will create a couple of videos for you to explore. And we're in a really interesting time because we're understanding the science or the research of fascia, how this process emerges, and how fascia doesn't stretch, it phase changes. And what you are seeing in my body are spiral movements. And we can understand why the body begins to move in the spiral through the paradigm of anatomy of our structure called biotensegrity, right? So biotensegrity is a term that's used by the orthopedic surgeon Stephen Levin. And in the link below, I will share link to his website and to those that are following Stephen Levin's approach to the nature of our form. So the reason that our body moves in the spiral is because that's how nature has designed us. All living systems in nature. And Stephen Levin calls it from viruses to vertebrates, all living organisms in nature are formed in the same geometrical pattern of nature. So I'm going to share with you, if you're interested in that, in the somatic education part of it, I will be sharing with you simple ways to understand fascia and biotensegrity. And when you begin to find your natural blueprint, moving in any other prescribed way just doesn't feel right because it feels more effortful. Fascial unwinding is really great for releasing patterns of a trauma response in the body. So when we experience any emotional response to an event, the event isn't the issue, it's the response to the event that remains as a pattern in the body. So somatic practices help to resolve trauma through the body, and fascial unwinding is one approach. It's actually a very effective approach because you're allowing the body to self-regulate. Oh, and the other thing that's so amazing is you can never injure yourself in this practice. In fascial unwinding, when you follow the inner urge, your body will only take you to where it's ready to go. So if I'm guiding a practice, I'm not guiding it so that you're following me, for example. So in my body, this is how my patterns are emerging. No two sessions are the same. Okay, so there's different ways of experiencing this practice. I want to show you maybe one other way of just bringing attention to a particular area. And there is a process, a somatic process of coming to rest and quiet for that interoceptive urge to arise. So another way, so I've shown you kind of in seated. If I can sit here quietly in a rested state. So if I'm kind of just sitting, resting, and just connecting to my body in this way, where I'm tuning into my inner body. It's always adjusting to find what feels most easeful. When the body comes to a resting state, there will be a spontaneous sigh, which tells me that my body's just giving me ease. And look what's happening. See that? Body's coming to a resting state, and this emerges. Now, sometimes when this happens, it's also a process of just allowing it to come to quiet. Sometimes it could feel overwhelming to have an oscillation, which is why it's so important to hold space for someone in a fascial unwinding process. So the body comes to a resting state. It's all spontaneous. There's no stretching involved at all. The body's unwinding from the inside out. I'm just going with that. Whole body experience. Yeah, and this is the body's way of revitalizing, recharging, releasing areas of strain. Okay, so that's the process of fascial unwinding. And in SomaSensing, I may co-regulate and guide someone there, but I don't always use this practice. And it's important to understand the process. The most important part of SomaSensing is to pay attention, to bring awareness to our body and to have the capacity to self-regulate. So that really is at the heart of the practice. So I hope that's given you a little bit of insight, and I will share more on this channel.